Hello. Uh, I've been trying to post a video for several weeks now. And in between trips to the doctor for the wife and me, the wife just had surgery on her shoulder. I'm still recovering from knee surgery. Oh, it's lovely getting old, especially in these corrupted bodies that are breaking down and way too soon are gone. Anyway, good Lord's gonna fix that. So, anyway, been trying to post a video for a while now, and every time I do and start trying to post one, something happens. Like the one I tried to get recorded last week, the youngest granddaughter kept running in the bedroom, and when I finally got her down so that I could do it, everybody else came back home. So all this noise in the background. The last one was just an hour ago, and I thought, hey, I'm at church where I attend, and I had the other granddaughter with me. She was out sweeping the floors because we're trying to help the lady who was scheduled to clean this week for the month. Her brother, unfortunately, is in last stages, so she's been spending all of her time with him, trying to take care of him. And while we pray for her, and I feel sad, so we're trying to help out. We had to come over here today. I was changing the message out on our board, and it's like, hey, we'll do a little while we're over there. We'll get some sweeping done so that's taken care of. You don't worry about it. And so I thought, okay, she'll start out there and she'll go over here and then she'll go over here and she'll make this big round. And no, she started in the sanctuary and then came immediately to this room. And it's like, so I had to stop, finished up the other business, forgot a letter and all the other stuff going on. So I asked her to run back out and put it on. She came back in. I thought I heard the door, but I don't see her anywhere. I hope she didn't lock herself outside again, because she's going to get awful cold here pretty quick. And I haven't seen her walking out or come over here to knock on the window yet, so I don't know. Anyhow, back to what I was saying. Been trying to post a video, kept getting interrupted. The devil does not like it when you're trying to spread the truth. He does not want us to be saved. He hates us. And all I was trying to do is just make a little video. And as you see, I'm over at my church. I did not bring any books with me. I've got 12 or 13 Bibles over there, though I can dig out if I need to find a verse or something. But as it may be, the reason I am making this video is because over the last couple of months, while rehabbing my knee, getting the wife rehab and stuff, I've been watching a lot of videos. And going along with that, I've been checking a lot of the messages that were sent. And being me, I mean, I try to be nice. I try to be a merciful person, but sometimes you just have to respond to some comments. Now, I try to be nice about it. I try to respond in a business-like tone. And for those of you who may not know, I do have a master's degree. I can use language. I can make really big words and make my language very hard to understand for a lot of people if I really want to. I try not to. Sometimes you have to. Anyway, so I'm reading messages that are coming in, and the videos I had been watching, a lot of them had to do with young Earth versus old Earth, what fossils tell us, how old are fossils, rock strata, that kind of stuff. And while I love to death videos from Rob Skiba and L.A. Marzulli and Chuck Missler, Michael Heiser, those kind of people, most of whom are passed away now. Lord's got them. We miss them down here because they gave the other side of the Bible, stuff you don't usually hear about in church. And if you go look at some of their videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm watching these other videos by Ken Ham and like Answers in Genesis and stuff, and looking at the messages that are sent in. And of course, a lot of them are, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no evidence for what you're spouting. You don't have any proof. We have a lot more evidence for evolution, and you have absolutely no evidence for your stuff, and along those lines. So I was just reading them at first and seeing what some of the responses were from other people. And but occasionally I'll see one, maybe there wasn't a response to it, or the responses were more along the lines of whatever you say, you don't, and it's like, if you're going to discuss with these people, you've got to use the Bible. Don't ever let them tell you that you can't use the Bible. You use the Bible. But you also take the evidence from the Bible and put it into nowadays, and then look at what science has shown to be provable and retestable. So true scientific research, you look, you make a hypothesis, you test it, it becomes a theory, you retest it to see, to see if you can prove it false or not. Others can retest it, and you don't go, this is what I'm looking for, so I'm only going to take evidence for that, and I'm going to ignore everything else. You go out, you say, this is what I'm looking at. Let's see what happens. You test it, you give the raw data and go, this is what I found. Well, we're getting a lot of evidence that shows the Bible is actually much more accurate than any other theory they offer, like evolution. So the religion of evolution really doesn't have anything backing it. And they will talk about things like radiometric dating and carbon-14 dating and how it shows the age of the earth and stuff. But what they seem to conveniently ignore or forget is that all those different types of dating methods have been tested. And there have been a couple of them that can be a little more accurate, but most of them have been shown to be wildly inaccurate. And they've been tested and retested. You can take a piece of rock, snap it in half, send it in and go, hey, I want these tested, and test subject A will be tested at 12,000 years old, and test subject B will be tested at 142,000 years old, and they're the same piece of rock that you broke in half. Now you get them back and you switch them. So you switch A for B and B for A, send them back in to get tested, and you'll get the same results. That one will test a lot younger than the other one instead of them both being tested at approximately. And I could even take, this one was tested at 120 million years old, and this one was tested at 122 million years old, because that's close. But when you're getting one that says it's 1.4 million years old, and the second one is 18,000 years old, that gap is just data and facts that show it doesn't work right. So of course I have to get in there and I have to do a little, myself, give some evidence for our side. And I'll say something like, hey, you do realize that like carbon-14 dating is inaccurate because carbon-14 is still being generated and it's increasing. It hasn't reached equilibrium. So you cannot test based on some equilibrium standard you gave 20 years ago and come out with an accurate answer. And when you even do things like you send them a diamond and there's still carbon-14 in the diamond, but the diamond's supposed to have taken millions of years to be formed and be millions of years old. Why is there still carbon-14? after a few thousand years, 20, 30,000 years, carbon-14 should be so minuscule that it basically is gone. Yet a diamond that's supposed to be millions of years old still tests positive for carbon-14. So how can that be? Well, one way is that the Earth is a lot younger than they say. Radiometric dating, that'd be one of them that has these vastly different readings for the exact same thing. Anyway, so I've been generating a little bit of a buzz. I don't know. I get some responses from it. And a lot of times the responses are, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, I took geology. I'm not a geologist, but I did take geology when I was in college. And on the very first test we had, which the professor himself said, I make this extremely difficult. That way, those who score low or those who look at this test and go, oh, that's way too hard, will get out of my class. I only want the ones here who want to learn. I was the fourth highest score on the test. Doesn't say I'm perfect, and I'm not trying to be prideful. I'm just saying I did study geology and rock formations and strata in college. So when they give information that might be somewhat inaccurate, particularly based on recent research, I tend to point that out to them. And they're not real happy because I point out inaccuracies. But this is leading to the point of this video. All that background, all that noise leads to this point. The Bible says that in the end times, we are going to have scoffers. Those who are deliberately, willfully ignorant. What that means is they are on purpose refusing to acknowledge not only scientific research that shows a young Earth, but things within science that point to a creator of everything. And not a billions of years old, nothing there, nothing exploded into everything, and we came from goo to you by way of the zoo. Okay. Our bodies alone are so complex that random chance cannot explain it. Even some of the simplest life forms have such complex pieces, like eyes or whatever, that it's impossible to say it was random chance. And to have that happen over and over and over again. Okay, the single-celled life form had to find somebody to marry to get together to make more single-celled life forms. And then one of those single-celled life forms had to go, hey, if one cell's great, how about two? And had to figure out how to split to make two. And then had to convince Mary over on the corner that she needed to split and make two so that they could get married and make some double cell. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then some amphibian had to climb out of the water onto the land and go, hey, it's cool up here, I like it. And then they had to develop all the different mammals and such, and reptiles that stay on land. And then all of a sudden one of those land animals had to go, you know what, I liked it better in the water, and go back in the water and make a whale. All along the way, though, they had to find other forms similar enough to them that they could mate with. And I'm not talking about a Chihuahua and a Great Dane trying to get together. But they had to find some life forms similar enough to mate with all along the way and have their dominant genetic materials take precedent and pass on those mutated traits and actually have the mutations increase knowledge in your body instead of decrease, which a mutation most of the time does. Every mutation they've tested is a loss of information in some manner. So if we've mutated this many times into this life form, why are we not just a puddle on the ground instead of this? Because if it's a loss of information all the way along the way, how did we get so much information? And they've tested it, and they've tested it, and they've tested it, and they've tried to take inorganic matter and make organic life out of it by imitating what it was supposed to have been like when the first single-celled amoeba developed. And all they get is some basic amino acids, and all of our amino acids have to be left-handed, as they call them. And when they make them, half of them are right-handed, which means it's inorganic. It has not come to life. And as a couple of people I used to watch, or still watch, like to say, how long did it take and how many tornadoes hit that junkyard to put my car together? Because you take chaos, energy, and materials, and that's what was supposed to have happened to us. So how long did it take for random chance to put that car together? And most of the people are going to tell you that was built. They had to have a design, they had to have blueprints, they had to have somebody to build it, and they had to have somebody to manufacture the parts. I think our human body is much, much, much more complex than a simple machine like a truck or a car. So the argument that we are random chance, but that couldn't have been random chance, it had to have been designed by somebody, just leaves me flabbergasted that they could say that and think that. God puts knowledge of him and evidence of him all around us, in us, on the earth. The first letter of his name that he's identified with is there in Jerusalem. There's 3 valleys that form the W. That is his letter. That is the acknowledgement. That's the symbol of God. Our DNAs go, I don't remember the sequence. It's like 6, 4, 10, 4, something like that. Anyway, when you look at it and it repeats over and over and over again. So there's like 6 letters and then 4 letters. Anyway, when you take that number and in the Hebrew alphabet, it spells out YHVH or YHWH, Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, over and over and over again, the name of God. We work together in such harmony. We breathe in oxygen and breathe out CO2. The plants breathe in CO2 and breathe out oxygen. So we work together. And if this was all random chance and just mutation, how does that work? How did the trees and plants know, hey, we got to breathe in this kind of gas and breathe it out so that those funny looking pale things over there on 2 legs can continue breathing? If you look, like our RNA and stuff, and with other animals and plants, is almost exactly similar. But do you realize that if it wasn't that similar, we would not be able to eat plants? A lot of the plants, we would not be able to eat a lot of the meat we do because it'd be poisonous to us and kill us. It's almost like somebody designed it so that we could be omnivorous and be able to eat plants and herbs and eventually meats. When Noah got off the ark and God said, you're going to be able to eat meats now, except for certain ones I'll tell you about. Almost as if Somebody had a plan, almost as if somebody was outside of time and space looking down and could look from eternity to eternity and go, okay, on this spot we need to do this, on this spot we need to do this, I need to design this in this way. Like he knew the beginning from the end, just like the Bible says. So anyway, I've gotten into a couple of discussions with people, and I point out that there's evidence supporting a young earth and a creator, and they absolutely don't want to hear it. They absolutely don't want to listen. They will call you names, tell you you're stupid, tell you you don't know what you're talking about, you're ignorant. Obviously, you don't know anything about science. Obviously, you don't have any kind of knowledge or training, because anybody with any least little bit of common sense could understand how evolution has tons and tons and tons and tons of scientific data backing it up, while young earth creationism doesn't. So, show me the evidence. Well, according to radiometric dating, this rock strata was dated at 150 million years old. Yeah, but radiometric dating has been shown to be vastly inaccurate. Polygraphs are shown to be over 80% accurate, but they won't allow those in courts. That is far from being 80% accurate, yet you swear by your atheism on it. Yet when we say, hey, we did like 5 tests on it and look at the vastly different values we received, oh, that was just an outlier. That was the exception and not the rule. But we can do it over and over again and get the same results. Which tells me that the hypothesis that it's inaccurate is more theory, because anything that can be retested can be proven false if you find data that you hadn't had before. But evolution, you can't retest it. It wasn't observed when it happened. It's not observable now. Nowhere on this planet have we found a frog being turned into a gazelle, or a flower turning into a butterfly. So where's the evidence of evolution now? And when they say mutation, they tried mutation. They tried mutating flies. They tried mutating other animals, only to get very poor mutations. Flies with an eye, with a leg growing out of its eye, or with 4 wings but it couldn't fly. Our wings on the left were much bigger than the wings on the right, so it just flew in circles. Not helpful mutations that added knowledge to the gene pool, to the genetic code. It subtracted knowledge and created these monstrosities that did not survive long. Mice with legs growing out of its back. So mutations are proven to be inferior, and they subtract information, not add. So we could not have mutated into this form. There is no solid evidence of any kind of evolution. Every missing link form that they offer as evidence of us changing from ape to human has been proven to be false, are completely lied about, grinding down bones to make them fit, basing it off of a molar and a rib bone that were found 50 foot apart. So there's no evidence. And what they offer is speculation. Well, the red shift says that, okay, there's a red shift. What does that truly mean? You know, to have the stars we have, star goes nova or supernova about approximately every 30 years. I mean, it could be 10 years, it could be 60 years, but approximately every 30 years, a star goes nova or supernova. And to have as many stars as we do right now, you would have to, even to maintain that, would have to have a star formed, a star born at the same approximate rate that stars are destroyed. And if the universe is 40 some billion years old, like they're claiming now, they haven't seen one star actually being born. All they've found is ones that are destroyed. And when they say, hey, look, that star brightened up, it must be a new one, could have been that there was a dust cloud that moved out of the way just as easily. So there are other theories or hypotheses to explain what happened besides what they give you. But what they give you has to be the absolute truth, because it's the only one that supports evolution. Even if it is so wild and so poor that it's basically impossible for that to have happened. Appeared smaller than a dot on a piece of paper, explodes into everything you see here. And hydrogen got compressed and formed all these other gases and stuff. But if you look at Boyle's gas law, gases do not compress unless you have tremendous force. And one scientist speculated that for like a sun to be born, to be formed out of these gases that don't want to go together, you would have to have something like 25 other stars explode around each other to exert enough force to push these together. So you have to lose 25 to gain one. Why do we have so many stars in the heavens that we can see? If we're losing stars at that rate, there should not have been near as many stars as we see now. Why is carbon-14 increasing in the atmosphere? Why has not it reached an equilibrium state like it should have? Why didn't the sun burn us to a crisp a few million years ago when it was much larger and hotter than it is now? It should have burned everything out to like Mars to a crisp, even a few million years ago. Why do we have planets here, and even in our solar system, that still have hot cores, molten cores, still have strong magnetic fields? And we've checked, done research, and found that our magnetic field decreases every year by so many, so much percent. I don't remember what it is. I think it might be 9 or 10%, but I'm not positive. But it decreases every like 100 years, I think like 10%, I think is what it is. But if that's the case, why isn't our magnetic field gone? Why aren't we being burned to a crisp by all the other rays in the atmosphere? X-rays and gamma rays and all this stuff that the magnetic field repels. The magnetic field, if the Earth is as old as they say it is, should have been gone by now. And we should have been burned to a crisp. Why didn't we get destroyed when the moon ran into us? Because the moon's drifting away from us. Slowly, but it is drifting away. But you give it a few thousand years, it would have been close enough we should have torn each other apart. If it rains, it increases temperature. If it's going to rain for, say, a year, it would increase temperature enough to cook off everything. Yet they say it rained for millions of years on the rocks and created this goo. Why didn't it just burn everything to a crisp if it rained that long? It should have killed everything, not created life. Why is that? But when I ask these questions, all I get is you're ignorant, you don't know what you're talking about, you haven't done any research, you didn't look at any of the scientific data, you don't know. But the problem is I have looked at scientific data, I have looked at research. I have listened to people talk about it, and then I have gone back and looked myself and said, okay, what were they looking at? And the latest data shows that this Earth should have been destroyed, I don't know how many times over. Yet here we are, with all this diversity of magnificent life, which is another point. If we've evolved from lower life forms, why did those lower life forms not die out if this was a better fit? Why weren't they devolved into nothingness? Why didn't, hey, look at Harry. He's standing more upright than I am, so we got to teach our kids that. And why didn't they evolve into nothingness? Why are there 400 different types of dogs? And why are, when evolution says that the survival of the fittest and we must evolve to manage to become better. We're supposed to be smarter than our ancestors. But a lot of the people they found and a lot of stuff they found show that they may have been much smarter than us. And if you look at the Bible, where they're living to 1,000 years old, it would show that they had much more intelligence. And if you live 1,000 years old, just imagine how much you could learn. Particularly if God's walking with you and you had a question. Hey God, why is that tree going like that and that tree going like that? Well, let me tell you, Adam. Oh, and by the way, if you take the bark off this tree and scrape the back of it, you can make a tea out of it. And it's got all these nutrients and all these antioxidants that's good for your body. So it'll help you with, age spots and this and that. Oh, that plant over there, if you snap the stem, and don't do all of them because you'll kill it, but if you snap the stem and rub it on this cut, it helps it heal faster. Just imagine all the knowledge you could gain by talking to the guy who made it all, who knows how everything goes together. Anyway, so they're willfully ignorant, which is stupid on purpose. They want to take all this speculation and all this circular reasoning, and they want to use it to try to explain everything without a creator, because they don't want God up there. They don't want to have to bow to a being up there larger than them. They want to be their own God. And that is one of the things Satan has been doing to us for millennia. One of the first things he said to Eve, did God really say? So it put doubt in her mind about God. Oh, surely you're not going to die. Surely if you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you're going to be like God. And he's been offering that ever since. And us foolish mortals down here have been falling for it. But God sent Jesus down here to die for us and pay for our sins so that we could find grace and salvation. It's just a lot of people don't want to follow it. A lot of people don't want it. And God loves us too much to force us to be his, basically, slaves, his robots. He wants us to love him, free will. Anyway, I see I'm going over half an hour, and I think the granddaughter, I'm not sure if she got herself locked out or not. I haven't really heard knocking, and like I said, I haven't seen her come to the window or anything. So she may be sitting out there waiting for me. So I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to post it, so at least there's a new video up. And I hope you enjoyed it. For those who may come across this from, new viewers, if you like it, hit the subscribe button, please. I mean, it helps get my video out to more people. But if you don't like it, fine. Click past it, move on to something else. Doesn't kill me. God says, get our word out there. I'm trying to get his word out there. And if you want to know more, there's a comment box. Send me a comment. Be more than happy to talk with you about this, especially if you have questions and you want to know more. Anyway, until next time, you be good. May God be with you. May God bless you. And if you don't know God, we don't know how much time we have left. Maybe you should find him. Talk to you later.